Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to FS2024. We are going to move on. It wasn't very good reception I got on the 2024, 2020 compatible models, so we're going to move on to something else. That's fine, we'll move on to something else. We're going to look at crosswind landings today, starting obviously with the Cessna 172 and working our way up to larger and larger aircraft. I have a standard wind set, but if that proves to be a little bit too easy for some of the larger jets, we'll work our way up. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, nestled into our 172 SP, our weather situation today, at least starting out, will be as follows. I want to have a pretty aggressive crosswind at sea level. So wind's going to be coming from 225, which is here. Hold on a second. Let's change that. 130. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So now we've got a nice aggressive crosswind at 85 knots. That's heavy. That's way more than the 172 is rated for. But let's see if we can't get the old bird airborne. We're already rolling off to the right side of the runway just from the side loading factor. I think that's going to come into play as we get into bigger jets as well. So I'm actually going to try and push the nose of the 172 into the wind. Then we'll throttle up, because I'm going to lose rudder effectiveness as we increase our airspeed here. So I'm full right rudder now. A lot of left aileron. All of the left aileron, please. Oh my god. Let's get turned into the wind as soon as possible. Or out of the wind, I should say. We'll come back. We'll turn into the wind. You'll see our airspeed start to go up. And at 85 knots, that's actually above our best angle of climb. So we should, in theory, be able to hold a 0 speed here. Well, not quite, but pretty aggressive nonetheless. There's 100 knots indicated. We'll go 1 notch of flaps for a VFE10. We'll throttle back, point the nose down, add in the rest of those flaps. And obviously with this extreme of a wind, we're essentially at 90 degrees to our landing surface. Being real mindful of that airspeed. I mean, these are borderline low-level hurricane force winds. But nonetheless, there we are down. More left aileron. All of the left aileron. That's a prop strike. That's all the strikes. Nothing I can do. We're just being blown. I guess I can retract the flaps. So, takeoffs, doable. Landings, not so much. I guess we'll move on to the next aircraft. Could you take off? Maybe. Landing, definitely a no in the 172. Let's find something a little bit bigger. Okay, and continuing our tests, we're now on the Cessna 404, a nice twin engine. That differential thrust should give us a lot more ability to counteract, I guess, the winds on our landing. Obviously a larger aircraft, but still in this, relatively speaking, small general aviation category. Let's get those landing lights down for maximum. All my lights are off. What's going on here? Come on. Turn on air conditioning too, just because I don't even know what that one does. We'll turn that one on also. Fuel pumps. Yeah, okay, they're on. All right, cool. Let's go fly, I guess. Break off. "25, 30 inches. Engine stable." Let's go up to 39. I was going to say 40. Alright, already getting a pretty strong crosswind. I'm going to drop the right engine back to 30. And I'll advance the left engine all the way to 40. Out of rudder authority now. Airspeed's just coming alive there. Into a stall straight away. Definitely a rough takeoff. If we did it again, we could probably do it successfully. Now that we're airborne, let's advance both engines to 39 inches. Really fighting the wind. Doing a better job than the 172, though. Get a nice push from the tailwind now. And then we'll start fighting it as we come back. I'm going to drop one notch of flaps. We're below our blue arc on our airspeed indicator. Well, we were. You can even see, even with the bank in that we have to the right, we're still drifting to our left pretty heavily. There's our destination runway out there. Start rolling power back just a little bit. Approach flaps and gear coming down. 1, 2, 3 green. Let's go full flaps. Get ourselves pointed into that 85 knot crosswind. Start coming off the pedals a little bit here. You can see how slowly we're tracking across the ground there. Do I have ground speed on here? I do not. That's probably a different option. But at 110 indicated, we're definitely not doing 110 over the ground. In fact, we're going so slowly, I think we're going to take the shorter runway here at Edwards. I am firewalled now on the engines. At 1,000 feet per minute to descent rate, we're barely able to maintain 110. Alright, we'll trade some of that forward airspeed into lateral airspeed as we turn slightly into the wind here. Knots. We'll be ready for that differential thrust in a second here. I'm going to bring up the left engine. Left gear down. Left gear again. I think we're on all three. All right brakes to slow us down. So in the Titan, definitely a survivable landing. But not one I'm sure I would want to partake in. Let's move on to something a little bit bigger. Alright, and aircraft number 3 is the Cessna 408 Sky Courier. Sticking with the twin-engine Cessna model, sticking with Cessnas in general so far, but switching out our reciprocating engines to turboprops. Let's see how it does in the 85 knot crosswind. Already getting a little bit of, a lot of actually, I'm full right pedal now. And with that high wing design, we're catching wind underneath. There's our skid marks from the 404 from the Titan. Successful takeoff. Look at that. Borderline drifting this thing. It's worth noting that under normal op conditions, this aircraft has tons of power. So I'm hoping with those big turboprop engines we should see a similar performance. Get turned around here, do a 180. Really chop those throttles as we turn into the wind.
Stall.
Start our descent. And bring power back in.
Stall. 400.
Look at that. Alright, plenty of power on board to manage the 85 knot wind in the air.
300.
Which would make sense. This aircraft would up near the jet stream. I don't remember the service ceiling, but it's within the jet stream range. Alright, keeping an eye on our airspeed as well, because this aircraft is going to be slow to spool just because of the turboprops.
200. 100.
Keep power on the left engine just a little bit. Okay, throttle cut, and we're going to go into beta now. I think we're dragging the left wheel on the ground. Where are we? We're dragging all four of them. Left engine full beta. Right engine idle. Definitely survivable if brakes were implemented as well. So, survivable. Probably not a good day for your maintainers. Let's check out the next aircraft, shall we? Alright, and moving away from Textron Aviation back into time into the Douglas DC-3. Same conditions as before, and this is where I think things are going to get interesting. The DC-3, as we know, is always a bigger aircraft, so it'll probably handle gusts a lot better, but straight line winds are interesting because the larger your aircraft is, the larger the side profile, the more wind can catch. Generally speaking, also, your vertical stabilizer is larger as well, which means it's really, really going to catch more wind. Ignore the bad livery; it's a third-party one. So we'll have to see what happens here in the old DC-3. We've got no flaps in the Dakota. Never needed flaps to take off even from short field. Let's stand on the brakes, and let me scan my engine gauges real quick. Here we go. Set at 80% for a second here. You can see we're already wallowing around. No FS realistic or anything like that today. Brakes off. We're rolling. I'm already out of rudder authority. Throttling back our right engine. We're airborne. Right engine's going to come back into play here. Let's get the gear transitioning as well. The slipperier we can make our aircraft, the better. Look at that authority, though. 100 knots, 85 of which is wind. You can see that windsock standing straight. Alright, let's get dirty again. Gear coming down. I'm actually, in a large way, able to utilize differential thrust a lot more effectively than I initially thought. It's like if we... Oh, God. I lied. Please. Please. God, no! Alright, well, the 1940s weren't kind to anyone. And the DC-3 included. I tip-stalled there. Let's move on. Something slightly larger. So stepping away from props entirely and into twin jets, we have the latest PC-24 outfitted in this nice air ambulance livery. Fitting, because we're probably going to need it. One other thing I noticed, even though they give you the option to resize this window, it does nothing except just, like, warp the PC-24 in the background. What is this sim? What is this sim, dude? This is great. I love this. If you're wondering why I have the little weather module up, it was to show you guys the that I'm not changing the weather, but just at this point, just take my word for it. Like, I don't have anything to prove by lying to you guys. Alright. Park brakes on, let's take that off. On the brakes. Flaps at 8. Trim is relatively in the green, we'll bring that up just a little bit. Engines to take off. Off brakes. Ignore that no takeoff warning, it's a bug. Shocker, I know. And so far we're tracking relatively straight. I expect we'll lose rudder authority in a moment here. More right rudder, more right rudder. All of the right rudder. Early rotation it is. PC-24 is airborne. Gear coming out. Bring engines back to MCT, or maximum continuous thrust, also known as climb power, depending on the aircraft that you fly. And obviously with this being a business jet, we've got enough power to overcome the would-be headwind. I'm actually going to roll throttles further back. As we get set up here for our crazy aggressive crosswind landing. Alright, we're at our VG. Let's go ahead and bring the gear back down. We can also go to 15 degrees of flaps. I'm going to be shooting for about 100 knot touchdown. Okay, maybe 100's a little bit too bold. I'm looking at my airspeed tape. Let's shoot for 130 knots. And even though we're halfway down the runway, I don't think we'll have any problem bringing the old PC-24 home.
100. Stall. 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 Stall.
Big tire marks on the ground. But given our wind circumstances, relatively doable landing and the PC-24. So we moved on to big jets now. I think we'll look at this and either the 787, 747, and then obviously the 225 to wrap things up. Remember, airplanes to endure. This is where I think what I was talking about before with the DC-3 is really going to come into play as far as that big tail surface affecting our ability to land. Also, the size of this jet, we're not going to be able to land it in a perpendicular fashion to the runway like we did with the PC-24. That's just not going to happen. So, let's see what we can get up to. I am going to be needing the HUD for this because I'm going to be tracking both ground and... Where's your click zone, dude? Hello? Where'd he go? And the sim is stopped. Do you guys still have that bug where the clicks in the sim just sometimes don't work? Yeah, me too. Anyway, park brakes off, flaps set to 5. Let's see what we can do here. Immediate master caution. It's the air conditioning bug. Okay, and we're already being blown off the runway. I'm adding left aileron. Oh my god. Alright, well, this is no bueno. Airborne, nonetheless. Let's bring in the gear. Alright, full flaps transitioning. There's our arrival runway. 156 knots indicated now. Really fast sync rate. Let's get power back on.
300, 200, 100.
That's a hard touch. Well, survivable, yes. Comfortable, no. Would I want to endure it? Absolutely not. But the 737 BBJ. Let's move on to the next aircraft. Let's do a quick pattern here in the C-17. I'm actually going to bring those flaps in just a little bit. We're definitely not going to need them where we're going. It's into the ground. All right, brakes on. Power set. Off the brakes. Aside from a little bit of left lean, or right lean, despite my full left stick deflection, C-17 seems to be doing okay. There's 100 knots. Coming more neutral on the stick as we build airspeed. There goes my rudder authority. Nope, it's still there. God, this thing is amazing. I bet you the real jet's not too far off from this. Look at that, a textbook departure. You can't even really tell there's 150 knot winds. Just kidding, there they are. Oh, shnikes. I know it looks like we were way off to the left of the runway, but as you can see, we're closing that gap pretty dang quick. I will say the rudder authority in the C-17 is great. If anything, it's maybe a little bit too good. I have to be really careful about tip stall on this bird. So once you get past a certain angle of bank, there is no recovery. You just go into a graveyard stall and you crash and you die, and everyone's sad. Alright, tracking back on the runway now. Alright, we ate up all of that runway. Left no crumbs. Ready to kill that lift. Come on, C-17, you can do it. That's touchdown. Spoilers deploy, and we're bouncing. We're bouncing. Oh, lordy. Probably too much airspeed. Definitely too much airspeed. But we're down nonetheless. And the C-17. Alright, let's check out the Maria. And, we'll bounce out of this video. Alright, you've wondered it, I've wondered it. How is the Maria going to handle a 150 knot cross when you can see our exhaust being blown out to the right there by a, extreme wind situation, when this aircraft unfortunately will never see, not because of 150 knot crosswinds being probably well outside of the range of this aircraft, but because it's in pieces. You'll fly again one day, Maria, hopefully, but today we'll do it virtually. Alright, takeoff power set. Quick sweep of the controls. Good, brakes off. Maria is rolling. See, we're already skidding. And it really wants to get into the plane of the wind. We're going to fight it just a little bit. Alright, and setting up for what's hopefully going to be the final landing of the video. We're directly into our crosswind now. We'll start throttling back just a little bit because we're actually past our V&E. Then we'll start descending towards our runway. I don't actually know how much rudder authority the Maria has. Having twin rudders is definitely a benefit, but they're small compared to the overall size of this aircraft, so we'll have to see what happens there. It's also going to be an interesting feat trying to get this wing level as we touch down. You'll see what I mean if you don't already know. But essentially, to track the runway, I have to have an extreme right wing down angle. Oh, that was easier than I thought. Runway tracking post-landing was awful, but landing itself wasn't too bad. A little bit aggressive on the flare there, but nonetheless, not too bad in the 225 Maria. That is going to do it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. Just another little silly thing I put together. Not really sure why. Just kind of felt like it. I can't get out, so we're just going to sign off inside of the 225. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do dearly appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. And as always, take it easy. Well, that outro kind of sucked, and I was kind of curious to see what an aerobatic airplane would do at 85 knots. 110 was, or 150 was too much, but 85, you can kind of have fun with them. I'm just sitting here hovering my little Edge 540 in the wind. But if we give her a little more throttle here, you do some pretty wacky stuff. This is your outro video, by the way. This is your outro bit, because I felt bad about just walking awkwardly. I didn't even make it all the way back. Those of you astute viewers would know. Well, astute, no, you would have just noticed. I'm running out of things to say. Yeah, we're just cold chilling. The old Red Bull. Is this Kirby Chambliss's airplane? It's probably someone else's. Alright, that's it. See ya.